What's up, everybody? Um, just got back to the RV again. It's about 19 degrees and it's cold and it sucks here. Um, I mean, it doesn't suck here. I don't hate on Alabama, well, except in football because I'm a Tennessee fan. But but just got to the RV, had me a phenomenal Marie Callender's pot pie for dinner because that's how we roll. Those acquired tastes and sophisticated palates. Anyway, just wanted to follow up. So the last video I did got a bunch of people responding, and that was pretty cool. I mean, it was pretty cool to hear people talk, and glad that it reached out and touched some people, and got some questions. Some pretty good questions. Got a lot more questions about the sales process. How do you develop to be a salesman and all that stuff? And I mean, so there are, I mean, a gazillion books out there on selling. Most of them, I think, are bullshit, to be honest. Um, there's entire books written on how to overcome objections. How to overcome objections. Let me tell you a little secret. If you are listening to your client, there won't be any objections. There won't. I don't care what you're selling. Funeral arrangements. Okay, maybe there'll be some objections there. Yeah, but about anything else. You're selling watches. No, I don't like the price. Well, do you know why they don't like the price? Because you didn't listen to what they needed and you tried to upsell them to something that was out of their price range, or you didn't sell the benefits enough of what you're trying to sell. Therefore, they don't see the value in it. If you showed the value, there wouldn't be a problem with the price, right? So, let's start there. Let's start with what is the difference between a salesperson and a person in sales? Those are two completely different things, right? So, a person in sales is somebody who cares nothing about their trade. They know very little about the product they're selling. They hope to find a sucker, hope to find a mark, I guess you'll say. They care nothing about repeat business because that's not important. They care about scoring today, right? They're like the drunk college frat guy of sales. They just want to get out and score that night, and they're good to go. And you see these everywhere. So go anywhere. Go car shopping. Go to a cell phone store. Go anywhere, and you're going to see these type of people, right? And then you have salespeople, and a true salesperson is a phenomenal listener, but they also really, really know their products. Like, for example, we do a lot of Snyder products, especially variable frequency drives. For those of you who's not in the industrial world, it's things that makes motors turn, and it's not very important to you, but believe it or not, it's one of the most important things in the world because it makes like water come to your house, and I mean, it's really important. So anyway, so we specialize in a lot of Snyder, also Allen Bradley, but a lot of Snyder. I really like Snyder's products. They work with us, they partner with us. We do a lot of PLC work with Snyder, and so I chose Snyder, and this is another note that you can take. I chose Snyder because they're not Allen Bradley, and what I mean by that is Allen Bradley holds like a 70% market share in the United States, and every integrator integrates with it. So I too integrate Allen Bradley. I'm certified for Allen Bradley, and I'm a 20-year integrator of Allen Bradley, but I chose to kind of hitch my wagon to Snyder and really work with Snyder because although they don't have a huge install base, they also don't have a monster integrator base, which means they really work well with me like that. I mean, they work with training. They make sure I'm taken care of. They give me a ton of tech support if I need it. And they make world-class phenomenal products. So, Snyder integrator, for the most part. Well, not the most part, but a lot. We do a lot of it, like I said. So, here's the thing. I can tell you everything there is to know about a Snyder product line, especially in the VFDs, right? Whether we're going to use a ATV 340 or we're going to use a process driver, we're going to use a 212 because a 212 has less harmonics, but we can't use a 212 if it's going to be a constant torque. It's got to be on a variable torque only because of the capacitance in it. I know these things, right? I know that if you want to run a an ATV drive on single phase instead of three phase, you've essentially got a rated double. The process drives have to be rated triple. This is things I know, right? So I took the time to learn it. I know what modules go with it to communicate. I know these things. You know why I know these things? Because I sell them. And I want to make sure that my clients are taken care of. So, for example, how many times have you walked on a car lot to look at a car and, you know, of course you get chased down by a sales guy, well, sales, whatever he is, the frat guy, the sales frat guy. You get chased down by him and you're like, hey, do you have any blah, you know, trucks to cars? Do you have any Camaros, whatever? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Or the best part is when you go to, say, a Volkswagen dealership or a BMW dealership or something, you know, and you're like, I want to look at a 650i BMW. And he's like, cool, I've got one of those. Okay, so you go up to it, and this guy works at a BMW dealership. Like, he should only know one thing, BMWs. Dude, like, learn your job. But you get there, and you're like, I want to see the 650i. So you get up to it, and you're like, hey, man, can you tell me about this? And then it's completely wrong, and you know it's wrong. You know more about the car from watching YouTube videos than he does, and he sells the shit to try to make a living. That's not a salesperson, right? So, what I want to get across today or tonight, this afternoon, is that when you are in sales, these overcoming objections and all this bullshit you read in the books and stuff, it's because they're trying to turn an average Joe into a salesperson, but you can't get there, right? So let me give you a path. This is my story, okay? So I was in the company business as a technician with my father. By the way, I got to ask about this. People were like, you said that you were really low middle class, and you know you gathered your water out of a spring. They saw some of the other videos, and I mentioned it. But your dad was an engineer and owned a business. Yes, both of those can work together. And here's how. My dad was sort of there when I was a kid, but my mom and he had a falling out, and my mom really raised me as a single mom. I mean, like, he would show up every now and then and pick me up for a weekend. No child support. You know, we got past that later. But my childhood was, I had a loving father. Don't get me wrong. My dad loved me. And you know, it was just, there wasn't a lot of support there. So when I say that I grew up in a really low-income home, that's what I mean. I mean, my mom raised me factory worker. She worked making Christmas paper, gift wrap paper for American Greetings in Greenville, a place called Plus Mark, but it's American Greetings plant. She worked there for 30 years. And my stepdad, who is still to this day the most important man in my life, my father's gone. But even if he was here, I mean, I love my father. My father was an amazing man, but my stepdad is the best man on earth. There are no better. So when he come into the picture and married my mom, and kind of the Brad Paisley song, you know, the daddy didn't have to be, that was it. Hunting, fishing, just totally supported me, still supports me this day, means the world to me. Yeah, so that's that. But anyway, so that answers that question as to how that happened. So my dad was there, and we spent years in business together. And once I got up to where I was a teenager, he really dedicated a lot of time to me. We drag raced together. We had a phenomenal relationship. So I don't want to make him sound like he was a deadbeat dad. I'm just saying the first few years of my life was pretty rough on that side. But anyway, so back to the story. And I'm telling the story for a reason. So hopefully it'll sink in. But so I was a technician for his company. And in 2002, he had a really horrific car wreck. It almost killed him. He spent months in a coma, in a wheelchair, just really broke up, and it completely shut the company down, because I was just a technician. Like, I would go install his systems and I would build his systems, but I knew nothing about business, right? I didn't know how to invoice anything. I didn't know how to quote anything. I didn't even know who our clients were. I just knew that, hey, we're building this machine and we're going to take it and put it in, and Dad ran all that, right? So it was like being thrown to the fire on that one, because you know, he was down and he was out, and I had to pick up the torch and carry it. So it was really trial by fire. That wasn't where I learned my sales experience, though. So here's what happened in 2000 and I want to say 2005, right around in there. I was still working with him, and he and I had a falling out. We were in business together, but we had just a father and son falling out. I mean, that's all I can say. It was over business. It was a really bad situation for a little while, and basically I went on my own at 23 or 24, whatever I would have been then, young. And so the first thing I decided was I got to learn to sell. I mean, I have to learn to sell. I realized that early that I've got to learn this stuff, right? So I decided that I'm gonna learn to sell. That I have to do that. I have the technical ability, but I've got to learn to sell. So I went into car sales. Got a job. I knew quite a bit about cars because I loved cars. I was into racing at the time, and cars has always been a passion of mine. Still is to this day. But anyway, so I got a job at a Nissan dealership. Guy hired me, and I was doing great. The only problem with selling cars is I tend to be honest. Like I'm an honest guy. So I couldn't screw everybody that come on the lot. So it was really weird because I was selling cars, and I was actually selling quite a few cars. But I was kind of miserable because, one, you're there a lot. Like they don't teach you about prospecting and stuff. You're just there to be like a lot lizard. You just kind of hang out on the lot and wait for somebody to show up and throw that pitch at them. So that was that. So while I was selling cars, I decided that sucked, and I didn't want to do it for a living. I was there to learn. I just wanted to learn from something that was a pressure cooker, and I did, and learned trial closes and the hard close and the soft close, and I learned all these things. So anyway, and then I went into real estate, got my real estate license. Love the real estate business. Still own investment properties and do my own deals. The only problem with the real estate business, one, it was headed up on the worst real estate market ever. When everything collapsed, and I got my license in the mail like the week that Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns went down. So it was a phenomenal timing on my part to go into real estate. But anyway, I digress. It is what it is. So, but did real estate sales for a while, and then the whole time I was still working automation. I was an engineering tech, still doing these things on the side, and then decided to go back out on my own, and so I went back out on my own, and I learned some stuff. I started selling some stuff, and things started going good. And then my father calls me, and he pretty much says, we shouldn't be competing with each other. You should come to the house this weekend and talk to us. We want to talk to you. So my dad and my uncles and I sit down and we really hash things out. And these are guys that I worshiped still to this day. I miss them more than anything, and they were the world to me. I mean, my uncles were like my brothers. They raised me, but at the same time, once I become an adult, they were everything. I spent every day with them. So, we had each other's back, and you could bet your ass that if the job needed 100 hours that week worked, they would be there for me. I would be there for them. We're getting that job done on time, out the door. It's just the way it was, and they're gone. I mean, and I lost them. If you guys don't know, I lost them in a span of just a few months of each other. But anyway, so the point of all this babble of me going on is I went through a lot of processes of learning to sell, and I took jobs that I didn't want to be in to learn to sell. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because there are no natural born sellers. No one. I don't care what you can do. If you can persuade somebody to buy something, that's not selling, right? It's conning. A true salesperson is somebody who is a servant at heart. I keep saying that, but I mean it. You have to be a servant at heart. If you don't, you're short for any industry. I don't care what industry you're in. You can run a brothel in Las Vegas, and if you screw your customers over in a bad way, you're not going to have customers, and you're selling something that every guy wants to go experience. Well, most guys want to go experience. So, if you can't sell, yeah, we won't go into that. But anyway, you get my point. You have to treat your clients right. So that being said, when you read all this stuff about sales and closing and all this stuff, and it's all this, all these different gimmicks and crap, just realize that if you're taking care of your client, a lot of that stuff goes away. Right now, you may be in an industry where it's a one-off. You don't have time to build you don't have time to build a rapport with the client, and then you got to build it really quick. You may only have 20 minutes to build a rapport with a client. But I'll give you an example from car sales, something that you're never supposed to do. According to the professionals, you are never supposed to let somebody leave that lot without trying to sell them, right? Ever. Don't ever do that. But I'll give you an example from my time at the Nissan dealership. Had a lady and her son come in. They were shopping for his first car. They wanted to buy something new. She didn't want her son to be in a used vehicle because she was afraid that it would break down on him. And he's 15 going on 16 at the time. So we test drove like a small, I don't know, like a Versa or something, teeny tiny little car. And they told me all this. And she was like, well, I think we really want to see this car or that car. And all the training that I'd had, which was a week, maybe, whatever, told me that, I've got to try to close these guys today. I can't let them get off the lot. They'll go somewhere else and they'll buy somewhere else. But the person inside of me couldn't do that. So I told her, I said, ma'am, you're right. This is a big purchase for you, and I want him to be happy. So I'll tell you what, here's my card. I like our car, and I'd love to work with you on getting you in this car. But, you need to go see other cars. He needs to see them all. He needs to make his choice. And if this one's it, then it's it. If it's not, then it's not. I understand that completely. But, this is what it needs to be. And I let him go, right? And got my ass reamed. I mean, I really got my ass chewed out on that one. But anyway, Monday morning, I'm off on Mondays. Monday morning, I got a phone call. Hey, this lady said she was in Saturday and worked with you on this Versa. I just want you to know that we're doing the paperwork with her, so you're going to get half the deal. Because that's the way car dealerships work. If another salesperson takes over, but that client was your client, it's a courtesy thing. On your day off, if you've been working a deal that, anyway. So that's how it works. So she came back, and then she called me like 3 or 4 days later. I called her, and I called her to congratulate her on her son's purchase and just let her know that, I was happy it worked out. And she told me, she said, James, I'm going to be honest with you. You're too nice for this business. Like you're too, I don't know if she said honest, but essentially that's what she said. And she said, we went to the other car dealerships and all they did was bad mouth your car and your dealership and everything else. And she said, you didn't do that. So she said, when we sat down, she said he really liked another brand of something a little bit better. But when we sat down, he agreed with me that he felt like that you took care of us better. And it was close enough in the difference in the cars that he just decided that he wanted to come and work with you. Unfortunately, we didn't get to work together. But she said that, the other salesperson took care of them. So anyway, so I had 20 minutes with them, and I was still able to build the rapport. So you've got to be able to judge how long it takes. In the kind of work I do now, it may take months. So this is another lesson. I know the video is running a little long, but I wanted to get some of this out there. This is another lesson that if you're in, outside sales in industrial or commercial or whatever, that you need to understand is, you have to be selling for tomorrow, today. And what I mean by that is, like in my business, for example, the projects I sell, sometimes the CapEx, the money that goes into those projects, they might be 2 years out, right? Or 3 years out. And they're looking for integrators now because they've got to build the equipment. Sometimes the equipment takes months and months to build. They have to have it integrated. They have to run it off. They have to do, factory acceptance tests and all these different things. So if I'm not in front of them now, it's kind of like college football recruiting. They start recruiting these kids like in 6th grade now, 7th grade, And the reason why is because you have to start building that relationship. So if you're in sales today, if you're out there and you're working in sales today and things aren't really clicking for you, right, then really look at what you're doing and ask if you're taking the wrong approach. Are you trying too hard to make today happen instead of the next year? And really step back. And I had this conversation with one of the guys. That's why I bring it up, is he wanted to know how many times should he call on people, and I said, well, it's not really about calling on them. I can't tell you that on the 32nd time of calling on somebody, they're going to do business with you. That's not how it works. But I can tell you that if you learn who John is, and John's the maintenance guy, John's fictional right now, but if you learn who John is, and John's the maintenance lead of the plant, and you learn that John's daughter plays soccer, and John's wife attends, church at a certain church, and their hobbies are whatever, and you learn these things. And I mean, truly, like, I'm not talking about just, like, there's actually software. And you guys may know this, but there's CRS software out there that you can put in hobbies and family and notes, and it's like it's the most shady shit I've ever seen, because it lets somebody who knows nothing about you put this info in, and then they can kick it to a $7 an hour employee, and that employee will call you up and be like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Dean, this is April with blah blah, and we just want to call and talk to you today about whatever, and oh, by the way, I heard that your dog was sick last time that we taught. How'd the dog work out?" It's just like anybody. I mean, I'm in sales, so I get it. But look, if I didn't talk to you last time and you know stuff about me, then I'm pretty sure you got that information somewhere, and it's not genuine. And it's don't. It's a waste of time, right? As soon as I hear that, we're done. Like, I don't care what you're selling, we're done, right? But if you go out there and you meet John on Monday, and you let him know, "Hey man, I'm just in the area, wanted to drop in, see if there's any way I can help." Once again, how can I help, right? See if there's any way I can help. Drop off my card, drop off my brochure, whatever. Tell you about this new cool gizmo gadget. I've got it in the car. If you want to see it, I'll demo it for you. That kind of stuff. He may not have time to see you. He may have time to see you. But the point is, you get in there and you meet John. And then a little while down the road, "Hey John, man, what are you doing for lunch today? Can I take you out to lunch?" And you build that rapport. And then he tells you, "Yeah, my son plays golf," or "My son's, on a soccer team," or whatever. And then the next time you see him, "Hey John, how's your son doing in soccer?" And you really mean that. Like, you mean it to be, you're trying to get to the end of doing business with them. But even if you don't do business with them, if you saw John in the grocery store sometime, "Hey John, how's it going, man? Hey, how'd the baseball game go Saturday?" You know what I mean? Like, you have to care. And when you do that, then all of a sudden, guess what? Then John's like, "Hey James, man, I need you to come by and look at this. By the way, how'd the race go Saturday night?" It becomes reciprocal. "Hey, I just want to give you a call. I saw where they're going to be running, NHRA at Bristol." This is where this come from, is I actually had a guy call me one time, a maintenance manager. He said, "I heard that they're going to be running the NHRA at Bristol this week. I just want to see if you was going. We thought about going." And I said, "Yeah, man, I'll be there. I'm going to be there Friday night. So I tell you what, why don't you come with me? I'll cover the tickets. You and your son come with me. We'll have a good time. And, we'll go." And we had a good time when we went. Ended up doing a lot of business with him later. But it's just about building that rapport. So I wanted to get to that in the video tonight and explain that. So, and the other thing, I guess the last thing I'm going to touch on tonight is pricing. I had a bunch of people ask about that because the restaurant scenario I gave the other day, and they were talking about, raising pricing and all that stuff. And I guess it confused some people on pricing, because sometimes you work in an industry that's really price sensitive. If you're selling a commodity, let's say you're selling copper wire, for example, you can't, when everybody has wire at X amount per foot, you can't go in and be like, "Well, I'm going to raise my prices today." That's not what I'm talking about. That was a very isolated situation where I was trying to explain that sometimes you can think out of the box and accomplish some tasks, right? If everybody was beating down your door wanting your copper wire, like I'm sure right now in Texas, if you're in plumbing supplies, it's also probably against the law, so you shouldn't do this. If you're in Texas, don't do what I'm about to say. But if you're in Texas right now and you've got plumbing supplies and all these pipes are busting, I bet you can mark those plumbing supplies up and there'll be people beating down your doors to get them. Once again, probably shouldn't do it. You're going to go to jail, and at the very least, you're kind of a prick if you do that, right? But I'm just putting it out there that's the thing. So let's talk about pricing then. So one thing that salespeople need to realize is when you put a markup on something, like I see it too often where people put a markup on something, they're like, "Oh yeah, we put 15% on it," and that's cool. But guess what? 15% can be 15.0%, or it can be 15.9%, or 15.62%, or 15.55%. The point I'm getting at is, if you have a markup that's roughly there, right? If you add just a little bit, man, over a year's time, it starts adding up. If you can add $2 to every order you do, and you do 15,000 orders this year, See my point? So when you do pricing, you don't have to make a huge jump, a huge leap or whatever to start seeing some benefits of what you're doing. And here's another thing. Here's the biggest thing that I want you to understand. And we'll probably end it here because we're heading towards 30 minutes. And I don't ever want to go over 30 minutes. It's just huge videos. But here's the one thing I want you to understand. Sell accessory components. So one thing that I do when I sell a drive, so let's say you call me and you order a VFD. Hey James, can you come out and look at this? We got a VFD down on this motor. You know, it's old. We don't want to replace it with what's there. We want you to come out, sell us a Snyder drive. Absolutely, I'll come out and check it out. But here's what I'm also going to do. When I put that quote in, I'm going to put the drive in, and here's my price. But then I'm going to put in VFD cable, right? Because they're probably going to want to replace their cable. So VFD cable at this much per foot. And then I'm going to put in the breaker that goes with it. And it's going to be listed as a breaker for that drive. This is what Snyder recommends to be the breaker that goes to this drive. Then I'm going to put in auxiliary components like, do you want to do, temperature monitoring? Do you want to do, vibration monitoring? Do you want to do harmonics reduction? Do you want, I'm going to put these options on the quote. And this isn't hard to do because if you sell the same thing all the time, you can set it up so that those items always populate into your quote, right? It's not complicated. But here's why I'm going to do that. Because if 1 out of 20 times that I sell this, somebody decides that they're going to buy X accessory, right? Then one, I've made a sale, but here's the gimmick, not the gimmick, but here's the thing. You price the drive out competitively, right? Because that's what they're after. So they want that drive, and that drive is, let's say that they can get that drive elsewhere for $500, and you price it out at $497. I don't know, give them a little break, whatever. But here's the thing. When you price that line item out, then you put a package deal down here that says that you got the package deal of this thing, and it's another $227, right? But it gets you your cable, it gets you your contact, whatever. But what they're not going to take the time to look at is the margins on. Now, if it's just astronomically ridiculous, one, you're taking advantage of your client, you shouldn't do that. Two, you're not going to get that business. But if they look at that and your drive is, a few dollars less, but you've got these accessories to go with it, they're not really going to hit you on shopping that. They're just going to say, oh yeah, I need that, and I need that, and I need that. And I mean, you start adding hundreds of dollars of orders to every order that you, well, not every order, but to orders that you do. So if you're selling products, and cell phone companies are great for this. Go to a Verizon wireless place and you buy a phone, and they're like, oh, well, now you're going to need a case, and now you need a charger, and how about a hands-free, and how about 2 years of blah warranty if you throw it out the window and it gets destroyed, and, and you end up, you go in there and you buy a $700 phone, and then you got $2,700 worth of stuff when you come out, and you paid $54 for a screen protector that you can get on Amazon for $3, and you're happy about it, right? I mean, you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. My phone laughs at me when I point it to, So that's my point in closing. Just some more topics on sales. The next video I'm actually going to do a video tomorrow night. So this was just kind of a follow-up on the first one. I'm going to do a video on tomorrow night that's going to go into business finance. So we're going to talk about capital. We're going to talk about the difference, obviously, between assets and liabilities. But we're really going to focus on the importance of understanding what those are. When is an asset, and when is an asset a liability, and when do they change? And I'll give you a sneak peek. This is the prime example. I'm sitting in an RV right now. The worst money you can spend. This is $140,000 roughly. That's going to go to zero. It's going to be worth zero. And I'm stoked that I bought it. You know why? Because I'm renting it out to my clients like a hotel room at $135 a night. My payment's $500 a month on it. And I'm getting $135 a night. So every week that I stay in this thing, I get almost 2 months payments for every week I'm in it. So it's an asset, not a liability. That's what I'm going to go into tomorrow night. That's what we're going to talk about, that kind of stuff. We're going to hit on that. I'm going to explain that. We're really going to work on how to really look at your business and see where you can cut, where you can add. And I'm also going to teach you how to leverage the people around you. Which is a huge deal for any startup. Everybody thinks that they're going to buy everything they need. Oh, I got to buy this machine or this and that. And what you don't realize is there's people sitting around idle right now who have that equipment who would love to work with you. So anyway, have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, like, share, all that good stuff. I don't know why everybody says that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like and share my channel if you like this kind of stuff, and we'll go from there. Have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow. All right, bye.